In this video, I'm going to show you how to create custom scatter plots that are filtered based on a specific field in our dataset. So in Excel, you cannot use pivot charts for statistical charts such as histograms, scatter plots, and box plots. So this can make it more difficult to filter that specific type of chart. So if you're ready, let's get started. So here I have a medical insurance charges dataset in Excel. In column A, I have the charges, and in column C, I have the BMI. I am specifically tasked to create two different scatter plots, one for smokers and one for non-smokers. Before we do that, let's go ahead and create a scatter plot for the entire dataset. So I'll go ahead and highlight both of these columns simultaneously. Go to the Insert ribbon and select Scatter Plot. So one thing you notice is that it put the charges on the x-axis and the BMI on the y. I want to have my charges on the y-axis since that is our dependent variable in this context. However, since the charges is the first column, it's going to default to put that on the x-axis. Let's see if we could switch that real quick. I'm going to right click on the chart. I'm going to go select data. And one thing you might be inclined to try out is this nice little switch row and column button. If you click that, you'll see that you get an error. We are not actually switching the legend series and the horizontal categories. So that's why that does not work. What we need to do is we are switching the X and the Y values within this one series. If I click on edit, we'll see that column A is being used for the X values and column C is being used for the Y values. We could just manually switch that here. So all I did there is just switch the A's with the C's, etc. Click OK, click OK. Now we have our chart designed as needed here. What if I wanted to just create that from scratch? So let's go ahead and click anywhere on our sheet, but you want to make sure that you're not near any of your data set. So Excel is going to try to detect where you're creating your chart from, and it's going to try to highlight the data. So you don't want to be near your data. I'll go to Insert, Scatterplot. You get a blank chart. So let's go ahead and add that series directly. Right click on the chart, go to Select Data, click on Add a New Series. Our X values we know is going to be our BMI. Our Y values is going to be column A. Click Enter, click OK, click OK. Now you see we have the same chart. All right, let's go ahead and take one of these. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to create a new sheet and I'm going to place it right here. If I go back to sheet 1, I'm going to go to the top of my sheet and I'm going to select smoker equals yes. I go back to sheet 2, you see that that chart automatically updated for the smokers. I'm going to go ahead and copy this chart. I'm going to paste special and select the picture. I'm going to go back to sheet 1 and I'm going to select no. Go back to sheet 2. You can see that this now has switched to non-smokers. I'm going to copy that chart and I'm going to paste it as a picture. These two charts now, this is smoker equals yes, this is smoker equals no. And then if I go back to sheet 1 and if I clear my filter, this chart reverts back, but these two remain the same. That is less than ideal now because that chart is a picture and it's static forever. And if you wanted to adjust it, let's say change the size, you have some limitations there because as a picture, I can't change really the dimensions. I can only make it kind of bigger in this way. What if I didn't want to do this? What if I wanted to have a chart that's pointed to my data set, but it's not a picture? Let me show you how you could do that in Excel. I'm going to go back to sheet 1 and I'm going to add some data to the right of my column G here. I'm going to create one column called yes, and I'm going to create one column called no. I'm going to do an if formula here, and what we're going to do is we're going to populate the data in this column with the chargers only if it is a smoker equals yes. So we're going to say equals if F2 equals my header H1, then put the medical insurance charges, else put an NA using the NA function in Excel. I do need to lock or absolute reference some of these cells so it'll work when I drag it down. So on the F2, I'm going to lock that on the F, but not on the 2. using the F4 shortcut. On the H1, I need to lock that on row 1, but not on the H, because when I drag it to the right, I do want it to switch to the no. So I'm going to lock it just on the 1. And then A2, I'm going to lock only on the A, just like the F, and that should be it. Enter. If I drag this to the right, this should be an A because this individual on row 2 is not a smoker. Let's go ahead and drag this down, fill it all the way to the bottom. And we can see it's working just as expected. Let's now create our smoker chart. I'm going to do Insert, Scatterplot, and I'm going to do blank. Right click on the chart, select data, add a series. My X values is now going to be the BMI column. The Y values, though, is going to be this new column. Go to the top, and what do you know? Excel is smart enough to know that if one of the values in your dataset isn't NA, it does not create a dot on your chart for that row. So let's go ahead and cut this chart now and paste it over here. And you notice this looks exactly the same as what we had before. We can now say medical insurance charges versus BMI smokers. Let's go ahead and duplicate that chart now and paste it right to the right. I'm going to right click on that chart, go select data, and we know now that the only thing that's really going to change in my series, the Y values, instead of H, I want it to be I, because we know that that was the no column. So I'll do I here, click OK, click OK. Now let's go ahead and change our title to be non-smokers. Keep in mind though, if you were to filter your data, let's select smokers. If I go back to here, you can see that this chart went away. So these charts are directly plugged into the data set. If you filter them, they're gonna update. But the very key advantage is these are not pictures. So if I go here and I clear this filter, these are actual chart objects. Then you can paste these into a PowerPoint, resize them as such, and you're on your way. I hope that helps out. If you have any other questions, please let me know.